Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are cracking open a book that I think occupies a really strange place in our collective cultural memory.
Mm-hmm.
If I say The Man in the Iron Mask, you probably immediately have an image in your head.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe it's Leonardo DiCaprio in a dual role, maybe
Mhm.
it's sword fights, chandeliers swinging, people yelling all for one and one for all.
Right.
It's swashbuckling adventure, right?
That is absolutely the image on the movie poster. It's the Pop Culture Digest version.
Okay.
But what we are actually looking at today, Alexandre Dumas's original novel, specifically the Barnes & Noble Classics edition, which includes the intro and the first 10 chapters, is a completely different beast.
It really is.
It's not an adventure story. I would argue it's a noir political thriller.
Noir is a great word for it, because as I was reading this preparation material, I was struck by how literally dark everything is. We aren't galloping through sunny fields in Gascony. We are in shuttered rooms in Paris. We are in the crypts of basilicas. We are in the private, unlit chambers of the Queen. The vibe isn't, let's go on an adventure. The vibe is, everything is ending.
It is the twilight of the gods. And that context is essential before we even meet a single character. We have to understand where we are in history.
Yay.
This is the final volume of the D'Artagnan romances. The Musketeers, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, D'Artagnan. They aren't the young hotheads from the first book anymore.
Not at all.
They're old men. They're in their 60s. Their knees hurt. Their eyes are failing. And more importantly, the world they built is crumbling around them.
The notes mention this is roughly 1661. Cardinal Mazarin is dead, and that feels like the inciting incident for everything that follows.
It is. Mazarin was the puppet master. He ran France while Louis XIV was a child. With him gone, there was a massive power vacuum. You have a young king, Louis XIV, who is suddenly deciding, I don't want a prime minister. I want to rule alone. And then you have two titans fighting for control of the machinery of state beneath them.
And this isn't a sword fight.
Yeah.
It's a spreadsheet fight.
Exactly. It's a war of finance.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, you have Nicolas Fouquet, the superintendent of finances. He's the rock star of the era, wealthy, charismatic, patron of the arts.
The guy everyone wants to be.
And on the other side, you have Jean-Baptiste Colbert, the calculator, the bureaucrat. And our mission for this deep dive is to unpack how this financial war entangles our old friends, the Musketeers, and leads to one of the most famous mysteries in literature, The Prisoner in the Iron Mask.
Before we jump into the plot, I want to linger on the author for a second. The front matter of the book gave some fascinating background on Alexandre Dumas himself that I honestly didn't know.
Oh, it's incredible.
He wasn't just some dusty French aristocrat writing in an ivory tower.
Far from it. And his biography explains so much about the themes of disfavor and outsiders in this book. Well, Dumas was the grandson of a French nobleman and an Afro-Caribbean slave. His father, Thomas Alexandre Dumas, was a general in the French Revolution, a massive heroic figure, a black general commanding white troops in the 1790s.
That is incredible. I had no idea.
He was a war hero. But, and here's the connection to our story, he fell out of favor with Napoleon. He criticized Napoleon, and Napoleon effectively erased him. He stripped him of his pension, his rank, everything. Dumas' father died broken and penniless when Alexander was just a boy.
So Dumas grows up watching his hero father destroyed by the state, destroyed by a changing political tide.
Exactly. He grows up knowing that service and honor don't protect you from a tyrant. You could be a hero one day and a pauper the next if the king or the emperor decides he doesn't like you.
Wow.
That anxiety, that fear of the fall from grace is the heartbeat of The Man in the Iron Mask. It's not just a story. It's personal trauma processed through fiction.
That adds such a heavy layer to what we're about to discuss. So, let's get into the text. Chapter 1.
Two old friends. We are in Paris. It's night. And we are introduced to a character who has changed, I think, more than anyone else in the saga.
Aramis.
Aramis, the former lover, the poet, the priest. But now, he is something else entirely.
Something else is right.
Publicly, he is the Bishop of Vannes. That's a high church official. But the text reveals pretty quickly that he holds another title, a secret title.
Yeah.
He is the general of the Jesuits.
Okay, I need you to stop and explain this. To a modern ear, general of the Jesuits sounds like a fancy administrative role, like being the head of HR.
Right.
But the way the characters react to it, it feels like he's the head of the CIA.
That is the perfect analogy. In the 17th century, the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, were not just priests. They were an intellectual and political army.
An army.
They answered only to the Pope. bypassing local kings. They were confessors to monarchs. They ran the best schools. They had a network of spies and agents in every court in Europe.
So they were an intelligence agency.
A global, decentralized intelligence agency. And they were feared. People believed the Jesuits pulled the strings behind wars and successions. For Aramis to be the general of this order means he commands a shadow army.
Wow.
He isn't just a guy with a sword anymore. He's a guy who can topple governments with a letter.
And yet, when we meet this terrifyingly powerful man in Chapter 1, he's hiding in a dark room. And he's waiting for a woman.
The Duchesse de Chevreuse.
The Duchesse de Chevreuse. If you read the earlier books, you know her. She was the it girl of the 1620s and 30s.
Right.
The most beautiful woman in France, the queen's best friend, the master plotter, and crucially, Aramis's former lover.
But this isn't a romantic reunion.
No. And this is where the noir element kicks in. Dumas spends a lot of time describing the darkness of the room. He says they bury themselves in the shadow to bury themselves in forgetfulness.
That is such a poetic way of saying they don't want to see how old they look. It's vanity, but it's also tragedy. They remember each other as young and beautiful. They are terrified of breaking that illusion. Yeah. But Chevreuse isn't there for nostalgia. She's broke.
Desperate.
She has been exiled multiple times. Her children have drained her accounts, and she's desperate to restore her estate at Dampierre. She is there to shake down her old boyfriend.
It's blackmail. Plain and simple. She says she has Mazarin's receipts. Let's dig into this, because the whole plot hinges on these scraps of paper. Why are these receipts so dangerous?
Well, you have to look at how finance worked back then. There was no digital database. There was no Treasury Department with transparent audits. It was all personal.
I see.
Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister, was given 13 million francs by Cardinal Mazarin. Mazarin basically said, here, take this state money and stash it for a rainy day.
Off the books.
Completely off the books. But here is the catch. Mazarin is dead. And now people are asking, hey, where is that 13 million francs? If Fouquet can prove Mazarin gave it to him, he's a faithful servant. If he can't prove it, he's an embezzler who stole 13 million francs from the king.
So the receipt is the difference between life and death.
Literally. It's the difference between remaining the second most powerful man in France or being executed. Chevreuse has letters from Mazarin that prove the money was sent to Fouquet. She knows that without the counter receipt, these letters look like proof of theft.
So she's offering to sell them to him.
She is offering to sell these letters to Aramis, Fouquet's best friend, for 500,000 francs.
She's holding a gun to Fouquet's head and asking Aramis to pay for the bulletproof vest.
And Aramis, he is ice cold. This is where we see the Jesuit general, not the musketeer. He refuses. He tells her, I don't believe you. I think you're forging them. I think you're lying. He plays hardball.
And then he does something that I found profoundly disturbing. The lighting trick.
Oh, this scene is a masterpiece of cruelty.
He knows she is hiding in the dark to protect her vanity. He knows she feels insecure about her aging, so what does he do? He rings a bell.
He calls for the servants to bring candles. Not just a candle, candles.
Yeah.
He floods the room with light. It's an interrogation tactic, but focused on her appearance.
It felt violent. He strips her of her armor.
He does. Dumas writes that the light falls on her worn, haggard face, her blackened teeth. And Aramis doesn't look away. He takes her by the hand and leads her to a mirror.
He forces her to look.
He forces her to stare at her own decay. He stands next to her and says, essentially, look at us. We're old. We're dying. Why are you playing these games?
He's trying to break her.
He shatters her ego to break her negotiation leverage. He thinks if he humiliates her enough, she'll fold.
But he miscalculates. Big time.
He underestimates her spite. He thinks he's dealing with a rational player, but he's dealing with a humiliated woman who was once the pride of France.
Yeah.
She doesn't fold. She leaves in a rage. She screams that she will take the letters to someone else.
She goes to the enemy. She goes to Jean-Baptiste Colbert.
And this transition from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2 is fascinating because we move from the emotional, dark, messy world of Aramis to the sterile, cold office of Colbert.
Describe Colbert for us, because in the book, he feels like a reptile.
Chuckles.
Yeah.
Dumas does not like Colbert, let's be clear. He describes him with a heavy head, thick black eyebrows, and ill-favored features. But he has these piercing, intelligent eyes.
Right.
Colbert is the intendant of finances. He's the subordinate to Fouquet, but he wants Fouquet's job. He represents mathematical probity. He works 15 hours a day. He drinks water. He hates art. He hates fun.
He's the guy who reminds the teacher she forgot to assign homework.
He is exactly that guy. He believes that the state should be efficient, brutal and rich. He sees Fouquet as a leech, a wastrel who is spending the king's money on parties and poets.
So Chevreuse walks into this guy's office, probably still crying from Aramis's insults, and tries to sell the letters, and the vibe is totally different.
It's purely transactional.
Yeah.
Aramis tried to appeal to their shared history. Colbert appeals to the market value of treason.
He does.
Chevreuse asks for 500,000 francs. Colbert looks at the letters and basically says, meh.
He haggles. He haggles over the price of destroying a man's life.
He treats it like buying a used carriage. He argues that proof of crime is a depreciating asset. He says, look, Fouquet is powerful. If I attack him and miss, I'm dead. These letters are risky. He beats her down to something like 300,000 francs.
But Chevreuse, being the operator she is, wants a sweetener in the deal.
Mm-hmm.
She wants an audience with the Queen Mother, Anne of Austria.
This is a huge ask. Anne of Austria and Chevreuse used to be best friends, but they had a massive falling out. The Queen hates her. But Chevreuse knows a secret that concerns the Queen, and she needs to get in the room to leverage it.
So Colbert, who is building a dossier to destroy everyone, agrees, but he gives her a disguise.
He writes her a pass, but she has to go as a beguine.
A beguine. I had to look this up.
It's a member of a lay religious order. Think of them as nursing nuns who aren't fully cloistered. They were known for healing and charity. Colbert concocts a story that this beguine from Bruges has a cure for the Queen's illness.
Which brings us to Section 3 and the core mystery of the book, The Secret of the Twins. This is the scene that sets up the Iron Mask.
We move to the Queen's chambers, Chapter 4. And again, the atmosphere is heavy with decay. Anne of Austria is dying. The text is very explicit. It mentions insidious cancers.
Oh.
Historians believe she had breast cancer. She's in constant pain. She's depressed. And the date is September 5th.
Louis XIV's birthday.
The king's birthday.
Yeah.
But for Anne, it's a day of mourning. She is crying. And into this room walks the masked beguine Chevreuse in disguise.
And Chevreuse starts this psychological torture. She doesn't reveal herself right away. She starts telling a story. Do you remember September 5th, 1638?
She recounts the birth. And we need to pay attention to the details here because this is the specific mythology Dumas is building. The public birth of Louis XIV happened at 11:15 a.m.
Okay.
The king, Louis XIII, was there. The court was there. It was a celebration.
But then...
Then the king went to supper. The court dispersed. And around 8:00 p.m., the queen went into labor again.
A second child?
A second son. A twin brother to Louis XIV.
Now, to a modern listener, having twins is a surprise, but it's not a catastrophe. Why was this treated like a nuclear bomb? Why do they have to hide the baby?
You have to understand the fragility of the monarchy. France had just come out of decades of civil wars, religious wars, unstable successions. The fear was the War of the Brothers.
Oh.
If you have two princes born on the same day, who is the king?
Well, usually it's the first one out, right?
Usually.
Oh.
But there were competing medical theories at the time. Some doctors argued that the second twin to be born was actually conceived first and was therefore the elder and the rightful heir.
Oh, wow. So you have a legitimate biological argument that the second kid is actually the true king.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if that wasn't true, having a twin brother creates a rallying point for every rebel, every disgruntled noble. If you don't like Louis XIV, you just grab his brother, put a crown on him, and say, this is the real king. It guarantees civil war.
So, raison d'etat.
Raison d'etat.
Okay.
Reason of state. It's the chilling philosophy that the safety of the state justifies any crime. Richelieu, the previous cardinal, had a maxim that is quoted in the text. One prince is peace and safety for the state. Two competitors are civil war and anarchy.
Chilling.
So, to save France, they had to sacrifice the child.
They took him away.
They sent him to be raised in the country in absolute secrecy. He was never to know who he was.
And Chevreuse knows this. She uses this story to break the queen down. And when the queen is sobbing, Chevreuse reveals herself. It's me.
And they have this moment of reconciliation. It's very emotional. But Chevreuse drops the bomb. The boy isn't dead.
The queen thought he died.
She was told he died at a place called Noisy-le-Sec. She thought her sin was buried. Chevreuse says, no, he is alive. I saw him.
This is the dynamite that Aramis is going to play with later, but right now it serves to bond these two women and get Chevreuse some money. The queen gives her a draft on Fouquet for 100,000 francs.
Which brings everything back to Fouquet. Everyone needs money from Fouquet. Chevreuse needs it. The king needs it. And Fouquet is running out of cash.
Let's pivot to the trap. Because while the queen and Chevreuse are reliving the past, Colbert is executing a very modern legal maneuver to destroy Fouquet. We need to explain the sale of office. This is a concept that is totally alien to us today.
It is weird. In old regime France, government jobs were property. You didn't get hired to be a judge, you bought the judgeship. It was a way for the king to raise money without taxing the nobles.
So it's an asset.
It's an asset. And Fouquet bought the position of Procureur General, the Attorney General.
It's like buying a taxi medallion, but it lets you prosecute crimes.
Exactly. And because it was his property, the king couldn't just fire him. But more importantly, the office came with privilege. As Procureur General, Fouquet had legal immunity. He could only be tried by the Parliament itself. And since he was a leading figure in the Parliament, that was never going to happen.
So he was untouchable. Even with the stolen receipts, Colbert couldn't touch him as long as he held that title.
Correct. So Colbert's entire plan relies on tricking Fouquet into selling the office voluntarily.
Okay.
If Fouquet sells the job, he becomes a private citizen. And a private citizen can be arrested, tried by a special commission, and executed.
Enter Monsieur Vanel.
Vanel is a fascinating, pathetic character. He's a counselor in the Parliament, but he's a nobody. Dumas describes him as hardworking but consumed by envy.
And he has a reason to hate Fouquet, right?
A specific reason. Fouquet slept with his wife.
Of course he did. Fouquet slept with everyone's wife. He was the Epicurean.
He was. But Vanel has held on to this grudge. Colbert finds Vanel and weaponizes him. He says, I will give you the money, 1.4 million francs, to buy Fouquet's job. You will be the new Attorney General.
But there's a catch.
There is always a catch with Colbert. He makes Vanel sign a private agreement. Colbert fronts the money, but he reserves the right to buy the post back from Vanel at any time.
So Vanel's a puppet.
A total puppet. He is just a glove that Colbert is wearing to punch Fouquet.
So the trap is set. Colbert has the buyer. He has the money. Now he just needs Fouquet to be desperate enough to sell. And this takes us to Section 5, the last Epicurean. We go to Fouquet's house at Saint-Mandé.
And the sensory shift here is important. We've been in dark rooms and cold offices. Saint-Mandé is a paradise. It's full of flowers, art, music, and it's full of poets.
Jean de La Fontaine is there, the guy who wrote the fables, the tortoise and the hare.
He's a character in the book,
Yeah.
and he represents the innocence of Fouquet's world. Fouquet isn't just a politician, he's a Maecenas. He supports these artists, they love him, but we see the cracks in the foundation immediately.
The staff isn't getting paid.
The gardener's complaining, the wine merchant is cutting them off. Fouquet is living on credit. It's a Ponzi scheme of generosity. He projects infinite wealth, but he is broke.
There's a scene that I loved where his friends La Fontaine, Loret, Pelisson realize he's in trouble, and they try to help.
It's touching and pathetic at the same time. They start emptying their pockets. These poor writers are trying to bail out the finance minister of France.
It's absurd.
La Fontaine tells this hilarious, rambling story about trying to sell some land, getting into a duel that never happened, and getting beaten up by his wife.
It's comic relief, but it humanizes them so much.
It does. And La Fontaine proudly produces 800 livres that he earned from a poem.
A naughty poem.
A poem of excessive freedom, as the text says. He wrote some smut, sold it, and brought the cash to Fouquet. When Fouquet walks in and sees this pile of coins, this pittance from his loyal friends, he breaks down. He weeps.
This is why the reader roots for Fouquet. He's corrupt, sure. He's an embezzler, maybe. But he has a heart. Colbert is a machine. Fouquet is a man.
But being a man of heart is a liability. La Fontaine, trying to be helpful, mentions that he met Vanel, and that Vanel is looking to buy the Attorney General post.
And Fouquet's eyes light up.
He thinks salvation. He needs 1.4 million francs to pay his gambling debts and to pay off Chevreuse. Vanel's offering exactly that amount.
Oh, no.
Fouquet thinks he's solving his problem. He doesn't realize he's opening the door to the executioner.
He agrees to the sale. He invites Vanel over to sign the papers. And this leads to the most frustrating, tragic moment in the book. Section 6. The sacrifice.
Before Vanel arrives, Fouquet gets another windfall. His mistress, Madame de Bellière, heard he was in trouble. She is a wealthy widow. She secretly sold all her silver plate, her emeralds, her rings. She sent a chest of gold to his house.
She liquidated her life to save him.
And this is the test of Fouquet's character. He has the money from Vanel coming. He has the gold from his mistress. He could take all of it, pay his debts, and survive. But what does he do?
He buys back her jewelry.
He uses the Vanel money, which he hasn't even received yet, he's spending it mentally, to buy back her plate and jewels. And he sets up a surprise dinner for her to show her, look, I'm so rich I didn't need your sacrifice.
Ideally, that's romantic. Practically, it's insane.
It's the last Epicurean. He prizes the gesture over the reality. He would rather die than look poor in front of his lover. He throws away his survival for a moment of gallantry.
And right in the middle of this suicidal dinner party, Aramis walks in.
And Aramis is the only adult in the room. He pulls Fouquet aside. He says, "Stop the music. We have a problem. Chevreuse has the letters."
And Fouquet's not worried.
Fouquet says, "Don't worry, I have the receipt in the ebony bureau."
They run to the bureau, they open the secret drawer.
Empty.
Gone.
Stolen.
Yeah.
And Aramis, being the genius he is, instantly sees the whole board. He realizes the letters plus the missing receipt plus the sale of the office, death.
Yeah.
He tells Fouquet, "You cannot sell the office. If you sell the office, you lose your immunity, and Colbert will kill you."
And Fouquet says, "I gave my word."
"I promised Vanel I would sell."
This drove me crazy reading it. I wanted to scream, "Who cares about your word? Vanel is a snake."
And Aramis does scream that. He says, "Vanel is a scoundrel. You don't owe honor to a thief. Break your word and live."
But Fouquet is a Breton nobleman. His code is everything. He says, "I will not be a liar."
It's the clash of two eras. Fouquet is the medieval knight who would rather die than stain his honor. Aramis is the modern operator who knows that honor is a luxury you can't afford when you're drowning.
So Vanel arrives. Section 7, the confrontation. And this scene is tense.
It's electric. Vanel walks in, terrified. He knows he's out of his depth. Aramis is standing there, glaring at him like a wolf.
And Aramis tries one last thing.
One last Hail Mary. He tries to bribe Vanel.
He offers him 1,000,000 francs profit.
He says, "Back out of the deal. I'll give you 1,000,000 francs on top of what you paid."
That is life-changing money. And Vanel says no.
Because Vanel is more afraid of Colbert than he is greedy. He knows if he takes the bribe, Colbert will destroy him.
And then the clumsy idiot drops a piece of paper.
The smoking gun. It flutters to the floor. Aramis snatches it. It's the rough draft of the deed of sale. And Aramis recognizes the handwriting.
It's Colbert's.
It's Colbert's distinctive, cramped handwriting. This is the proof. It proves Vanel isn't buying the office for himself. He's buying it on Colbert's orders. It proves a conspiracy.
So Aramis slams it on the table. "Look, you are being framed. You don't have to honor your word to a conspiracy."
And this is the climax of this arc. Fouquet looks at the handwriting. He sees the trap. He knows he is being hunted. And he picks up the pen.
And he signs the deed.
He writes, "The handwriting is approved."
Why? Why do that?
It's an act of supreme arrogance and supreme nobility. He is saying to Colbert, "I see you, I know what you're doing, and I'm going to sign anyway because I am Nicolas Fouquet, and I am not afraid of you."
He refuses to play their game.
He refuses to stoop to their level. He refuses to fight a dirty war.
It's a mic drop moment, but it's also a suicide note.
It is. Aramis is furious. He forces Vanel to sit there while he counts out the payment coin by coin, just to humiliate him. But the damage is done. Fouquet is now a private citizen. His immunity is gone. The receipt is gone. Colbert has won.
But Aramis hasn't given up.
No. And this is the pivot to the rest of the novel. Aramis looks at Fouquet and realizes, "I can't save this man. He's too honorable. He won't fight back." So Aramis decides to fight for him.
He mentions a party, the fête at Beau.
The famous party at Vaux-le-Vicomte. The king is coming. And Aramis hints at a plan B. He talks about the philosophy of saving a drowning child. If the father, the king, is throwing the child, Fouquet, into the river, you don't ask the father for permission to save him.
You knock the father down.
You knock the father down.
And we know what plan B is.
He's going to use the secret of the twins. He's going to go to the prison, get the boy in the iron mask, bring him to the party, and swap him with Louis XIV.
He's going to replace the king to save his friend.
It is the most audacious plot in literary history. And it's all born from this moment where Fouquet refused to save himself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what is the big takeaway? For me, it's this transition from the world of honor to the world of the state.
That is the core theme. The Musketeers, Fouquet, they represent an older, messier, more human world, a world of friendship, gallantry, and individual heroism. Colbert and Louis XIV represent the modern world, the centralized state, efficiency, surveillance, the system.
And in the system, honor is a bug, not a feature.
Exactly. Fouquet's honor is the glitch that Colbert exploits to delete him.
It leaves us with a really provocative thought. We love to idolize the man of code, the guy who sticks to his principles no matter what. But Dumas forces us to ask, is Fouquet a hero for signing that paper? Or is he a fool?
Is it noble to walk into a trap with your eyes open, or is it just suicide? Dumas loves Fouquet, but he lets him be destroyed. I think that's his answer. The age of heroes is over. The age of the Iron Mask has begun.
And that is where we leave it. The trap is set. The king is heading to the party, and Aramis is heading to the prison.
It's going to be a hell of a party.
Thank you for listening to the deep dive. If you want to see how this crazy plan plays out, you have to pick up the book, The Man in the Iron Mask. It's darker, deeper, and better than the movies.
Couldn't agree more.
Catch you on the next one.